I know most of you here tonight probably already are circulators, but we have petitions here tonight. If you'd like to become a circulator, see me afterwards. I know a lot of you are already doing it. Gina's like she's like my circulator girl over there. So we need to, I think, have you heard more about it? Have you heard people talking about it? About abolish property tax? When you're out and about, you probably, you of course.
Know about it.
Pardon me?
Yeah. I know people who don't even know about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been a
So
lot
I'm
of
like,
Facebook
well, okay.
articles on miscellaneous
Yeah.
things about it, quite a few popping up. And you see Brian every now and then.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's a
Brian couldn't be
sunrise
with us tonight,
event.
by the way. He just something else popped up, so.
And there have been some popping up on that Nextdoor app.
Yes,
And
right.
also, a couple weeks ago, they did a little blurb about it on Spectrum One News.
Oh, really?
I'm asking you a favor. Okay, I know holidays are coming. You know, you want to clear out a room, talk politics, but wouldn't be my first time. Wouldn't be my first time I cleared out a room. But the holidays are coming. I'll deliver some petitions to your house. We need to get this word out more by, grassroots. We don't have money. We need to do this. We need to do this. Keep in mind, like Brian has a very good contact at Tim Allen Jewelers and Mentor, and they set up, I was there, a table outside on a Sunday afternoon because there's Lagos Pizza in the bridal shop, and people were coming and sign the petition. If you know of anybody that's willing to put their neck out there as a business where there is actually traffic, okay? I went to a craft show, it'll remain nameless, a craft show that I went around to, and I held my clipboard, and it says, abolish property tax. Okay?
Oh, boy.
25 just walking around.
Whoa.
Just people stopping you. I understand the school had a Monday morning meeting about me. They didn't like that I did that, but I did not ask. When I tell you, I did not, I'm telling you, you just hold it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a clipboard, so it wasn't a T-shirt, it wasn't a knock, it was just abolish property tax signed petition. Yes.
Did anybody go and drop off petitions at the printers that went right off Manor Avenue at 306?
I do not know if they did. What do you mean, like to get more print, to get more?
He said he would circulate them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So FedEx there, it's a FedEx?
No, 306.
I don't know what that is.
306 and what, Lakeshore?
And, no, 306 and Manor Avenue, just to the northeast. It's
Oh,
No, the
kind of-
FedEx is by
it's
650.
behind.
so
Yeah.
306 in Manor.
There is a printer
Yeah.
there. I
All right.
forget the name. No.
No, it's
No,
not
it's
Kinko's.
somebody that does
All
signs.
right,
Oh.
like I'm right there when I tutor
Okay.
on Wednesday. All right. I have
Yeah,
it.
stop in because that's where I got those signs made.
Oh, okay.
And he said, in fact, he kept a couple that he might have one in the window. But he said he would happily circulate them.
Because Brian, just from Tim Allen himself, Brian said he picked up a bunch of signatures just from him. For a business owner just to have it on his counter, that's putting their neck out.
Yeah.
And they did that. So thank you to Brian Massey and knowing Tim Allen and doing that. And so if you know of anybody else, I would love to. Brian, John, myself, we've been out there. And just to be out there, out in the open, if you know anybody who would do that, sometimes it's too cold to be out there, but we know how to protest, don't we?
Just dress in layers.
Never mind.
Just dress in layers.
Pardon me?
Just dress in layers.
Right.
Your hat, your
If
glove.
people don't have to get out of their car and just pull up to you, that's what they like. So if you know any businesses that are willing to help us out with that, just kind of good amount of traffic, please do. And one more, I promised Molly that you would speak before we have our, is that sir? If you guys just a little around to Matt. Oh, you gonna come up?
Come on.
Okay, great. Take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. Light crowd tonight. Oh, and there's no meeting in December. Okay?
Okay.
And I'll let you know our next two meeting speakers, January and February. And we'll talk about elections after.
We're few but mighty.
Yeah.
I know you know, because I've talked before about Marcel Sturbridge.
I do want you to know that if you donate money to him, and I know that Mark knows this, if you don't have money, then nobody listens to you. But if you donate money for a statewide office, like $50, then you get $50 as a tax credit. So you're getting it back on your income tax, or $100 for a couple. So keep that in mind and go to marcelsturbitchforohio.com. I have his petitions back here, and we're having a veterans event January 19th. So if you want to, I had invitations and I didn't bring them. If you would like to give me your phone number, I can get you invited to that event that he's going to speak. It's going to be at Liberty Valley Church in Northfield. We're inviting all the VFWs and the American Legions within 20 miles to come. So think about that too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And with no further ado, Mark Setzer, who's running against Dave Joyce.
Yay!
Thank
All right, no, we don't.
Yeah, I do have some slides for a presentation about halfway through, and then I have some notes. I have a lot to cover, so I don't want to ramble, and I want to stay on focus, so just bear with me as I probably have to read a lot. But I did write it myself. Okay, as she said, my name is Mark Setzer. I'm an America First Republican. I'm running for Congress in Ohio's 14th District to make Ohio great again.
Amen.
Right.
I want to show you my background. I've lived in 5 states, and my experience. I've worked for 48 years, and my interpretation of events, so you know where I'm coming from. And I want to explain why I'm running, what I want to do for you in Congress, and describe how I can get elected, which I can. And then hopefully get your feedback and answer your questions. I am 62 years old, a divorced father of 2 adult children and 1 minor child. I live in Geauga County, just south of Chesterland, which is not too far from here actually, 25 minutes down the road. I'm semi-retired, worked for 48 years, private sector, usually holding multiple jobs at once, try to make ends meet. Just going down the list, 27 years in marketing and advertising, 25 years part-time in rental property management, landscaping, 8 years land surveying and utility locating, 5 years hospitality, retail sales, 2 years seed corn detasseling. Does anybody know what that is? I grew up in Indiana, and for a 13 or 14-year-old kid, it was a real job. I worked for Pfizer Genetics. I know, I didn't know at the time. But they had a seed corn division, and seed corn is they're putting corn not for feed, but they're making actual seeds to plant. So they have to pull the tassels off the male plants, walk down these rows of seed corn fields in the middle of Indiana that are like a mile long, and that's all you did. I was tall, I could do it. And they paid you $2 an hour, so. Anyway, that's one of the jobs, and I've heard they don't even allow teenagers to do it anymore. They don't allow minors. They hire migrants. They hire foreign migrants to do it. Anyway, and then I worked in agricultural chemical sales for Dow Chemical. That was my first job out of college. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in business at Indiana University. My hobbies are hosting family and friends in my riverfront property in Novelty. That's my backyard there. I like to volunteer for my community in any way I can. Also, when I was a parent, I was very active volunteering for my kids and their groups and activities. Taking photos and videos. Again, I was in marketing and advertising, exploring family genealogy and local history. I'm part of a local group because there's an old railroad that runs back there. An old electric railroad that runs back there behind my house, the C&E, Cleveland and Eastern Railroad. And we do hikes and exploration back there. And of course, that's me doing air guitar karaoke performance. I kind of just do that for fun. I've kind of hidden some of the videos right now. We'll see, I'll probably put them back up. But I have a Star Wars video, so If you look my name up, you can probably find a lot of videos and stuff, because I was nominated, as you'll see as I go through, I was nominated for Congress in the 11th District in 2014. So this is a picture of where my dad worked. So I was born in Sandusky to married college students at Bowling Green State University. And then when my dad graduated, he was hired by General Motors, and he worked at the factory here, the Delco Rigby factory in Anderson, Indiana. And that's where I grew up. And it's then it was about 80,000 people, and it was just a GM town. I mean, most of the people were employed by GM either directly or indirectly. So, as I say later, what happened to that town is terrible, because basically all those factories are gone, torn down. So I attended St. Ambrose Catholic Elementary. There's me with the circle. We attended Mass every morning before school. I don't know if anyone there knew that did that. I think we're the only, it felt like we were the only ones. You did? Okay, good. And I was an altar boy. We had to kneel on the marble floors with the sticky candles during the Mass. So Father Heilman and Mr. Stripmatter there at the top, and great memories. Just fantastic community. Loved it. Father Heilman, yes. Do you know Father Heilman?
Well,
Father
from
Richard.
his YouTubes.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
He was
one
great
that
for us.
Well, he was in Wisconsin though, if you're in.
Oh no, this is Anderson, and I think he's deceased.
Okay, no,
But his name was Father Heilman, yes,
Okay.
and great guy, man.
Wonderful.
Don't make a mistake during Mass. But, yeah. So in school, I excelled in reading, writing, and drawing. My favorite books were Children's Illustrated Bible, the 1968 World Book Encyclopedia, which my parents bought me, the whole set, hardcover. I still have it. That was the internet, before the internet, right? And they sent you a one-volume update every year. And comic books and magazines, just really avid reader. But I also got out in the summer. I like to play baseball and fish in a nearby pond. That's my brother and sister, and a whole mess of perch, it looks like. And we would explore. That we were surrounded by farmland, and so we would explore and we could wander. And we're right next to Interstate I-69. My career goal was to be a writer like John Boy on the TV show The Waltons. I don't know, has anybody ever seen that show? My favorite, I still love it. So here I am. It's an important year for me. Was the bicentennial, 1976. I turned 13 years old, and I just became aware, I guess, not necessarily call it red pill, but just became aware of what was going on, because I could remember what it was like growing up in the 60s and 70s, and suddenly our family was struggling. We were struggling with very high inflation, and there were layoffs at the factories. My dad was in management. He wasn't part of the union, but we were all affected by that. So we didn't go on family vacations. We used to go to cities and stay in hotels. Now we have to go camping, sleep on the ground in a tent. The magazines and comic books I would buy would get thinner, and there's more advertising, and they were more expensive. I started working. I started mowing lawns, and I started tasseling the seed corn fields in the summers to try to make spending money. And then, of course, not only the factories were striking, but also the schools, the public schools. So I could tell America was in trouble. That's what I could tell. And I was worried, because I'm thinking about, I want to be like my parents. I want to have a family and kids. And so this was important too, because have you ever heard the rock group Rush? It's very famous.
Yes.
So this album came out in 1976, and I bought it, and my friends and I were really into it. And you opened it up, and it had all the lyrics, and it was like a rock opera. It was an entire story on one side of the album, and it was inspired by a novel. It said there, it was inspired by Ayn Rand, Anthem. So it was frightening, because it was about a dystopian future about computers controlling everybody. I mean, my gosh, look at us now. Now we're talking about digital IDs, and they're listening to us, and the Facebook and the social media is following us, and now they're going to set up all these data centers everywhere. What are they going to do? That sounds like the temples of Syrinx, where they had the great computers in the hollowed halls, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyway, I was pretty nervous in that time. I was very happy, though, that my parents one day, they met a guy named Ronald Reagan, an actor in Indianapolis. He was running for president. And he was a former Democrat, but he really spoke like he had the right solutions. And we had to make government smaller. We had to cut regulations and taxes and also preserve personal liberty. So I became very interested in his campaign, and I followed it. He was in the race, even though he's running against the incumbent, President Ford. He was in the race all the way to the convention, and finally he lost the nomination at the convention. So I really started getting interested in politics. Of course, he lost in the general election to Democrat Jimmy Carter, and then inflation and recession just got worse. In 1979, I turned 16. I started driving. I could work at different places and go further away from home, and I did different odd jobs part-time. Then I joined my high school Young Republicans Club because we're all worried about the economy, the economy of our city of Anderson, but also of the country. Also, I was appointed to what was called a Mayor City Youth Commission, and we tried to help out the city and do various activities to get youth involved in the city. And I was on there for 2 years. And then in 1980, I canvassed for Ronald Reagan in the general election, going into actually Democrat neighborhoods, factory workers. And they were all open to the idea. I think this is what we called the Reagan Democrats. Mm-hmm. And they were suffering from inflation, layoffs, and they're like, we need to change. So Ronald Reagan, as you know, won a landslide victory, and I was very hopeful. And I was considering about going to law school, because now I was involved in all this politics stuff, and said, Mark, you have a future in politics, and you want to go to law school. And I kind of pressed my girlfriend. That's a prom date, and she thought I'd be a big shot, you know. Anyway, I went to Washington, D.C., Presidential Classroom of Young Americans. This was a program. It was a week-long program in Washington, D.C., very influential. And then I was an Indiana State House page. However, I went to Indiana University, and she stayed home and married a guy and got pregnant. So I went to IU, and I enrolled in business school. I did not go to pre-law, because President Reagan's going to make America great again. That literally was his slogan. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was Make America Great Again. He didn't promote it as much as Trump did. But so I was very confident that I don't need to be in politics anymore. I am going to make my fortune so that I can have a family and provide what I had growing up. So I cast my first presidential vote in 1984, and it was Morning in America. And there we are on spring break. That's me in the middle, and that's my school ID. So I graduated in 1985, experienced dismal job prospects. First job, as I told you, was at Dow Chemical at the Chicago sales office for agricultural chemicals. I got laid off within a year, downsizing across the whole company. Then I moved around. I moved to New York City. I'm really going to make it big, right? Not necessarily really big. I just want to be able to afford to live. And the Rust Belt is not looking so good. Anyway, it was a company called Cooper Rand. It was direct mail marketer. They sold stuff through the mail. That was before the internet, right? But then I was laid off because the stock market crashed in 1987. So I just started working back in restaurants. I had been a busboy before college. And so now I'm a waiter and a bartender. Wow, 4 years of college and I'm a waiter and a bartender. But that's when I voted for Libertarian Ron Paul. He was nominated for president in 1988. And I just didn't see any solutions after Ronald Reagan. So then I finally got a job in Shaker Heights. So this was an actual good job. It was related to what I studied. And I started that in 1991. But then another recession came. I'm worried. And so I voted for independent Ross Perot. I don't know if you remember him. He was a businessman. He was not a politician. He was from the private sector. And he really talked a lot of sense. So I'm kind of open to anybody who's going to help the economy. That's what I'm looking for. And unfortunately, it wasn't always the Republican candidate. So I dodged the layoffs at Fredonia. Republicans won control of Congress in 1994 with Newt Gingrich's contract with America. What a great disciplined group that was in Congress in those days, because things really got good. I met a Catholic girl at the office. We got married in 95. We had our first child in 98, and we bought this house in Shaker Heights. It's a double, 2-course brick all the way around, and we rented out the bottom. We lived upstairs. We both worked. We could kind of afford to live, you know. It was hard. It was like my dad, you know, supported a family on one income, and we had 3 incomes. But we felt confident, and we felt that we would have more children because we had more room in the house. So our second child was born in 2000, but that's my ex-wife there and my 2 oldest children. But inflation returned, of course, after 9/11 and the war, and by then we were paying Catholic school tuition in addition to the property taxes for the public schools. So it was tight, and so we put off having any more kids. Then we survived that. There was a housing bubble. Our property doubled in value during this time, but then there was the crash of '08. Ron Paul, who I voted for previously, now was running as a Republican. And what this did is he was able to get on the debate stage, on mainstream media. People were actually listening to what he was saying about ending foreign wars, sound money to end inflation. So this was very promising, even though he didn't win the nomination. But I'm back in the Republican Party, which was good. Unfortunately, my wife's business collapsed. She was interior designer, so we lost her income that fall. Then our third child was born in 2009, and we qualified for the earned income tax. That's my 2 older children and my newborn son, who's now 16. I couldn't believe that we were on the earned income tax credit. Does anybody know what that is?
Yes.
I thought that was for poor people. And here we were, both educated adults, experienced, frugal, like we didn't waste money, and we're like on public assistance. This is really weird. Is this what Obama was talking about when he wanted to fundamentally change the country? It was really scary. I didn't want to take it, but we had to. But then a ray of light, the Tea Party rose. Remember, we were opposing the bailouts, the bank bailouts, the car company bailouts, corporate bailouts, and socialized healthcare. So I was like, finally, there's an uprising, there's a grassroots uprising. This was very promising. And then, of course, Republicans from the Tea Party movement took over the House in 2010. So this is promising. And this is when I got started in politics, again, after being involved in as a teenager. And so in 2012, I started the Shaker Heights Taxpayers Union, and I organized a local tax hike. I was in opposition to a local tax hike because the economy was really sluggish. And so I was a graphic artist, so I designed a logo. As you can see at the bottom there, the 4 leaves, that's the logo of the city of Shaker Heights. So what I did is said, well, the city of Shaker Heights really, it's about money, it's not about leaves. And so that was our logo. And boy, they didn't like that. They immediately threatened to sue us. They said, you have to stop using the logo, or, you know, they sent a cease and desist order. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But we got a pro bono lawyer from the 1851 Center for Constitutional Law, Maurice Thompson, represented us, and we sued the city, actually, because they were trying to silence our free speech. We had a right to make a parody of their logo, and we won in court. However, the income tax levy still passed because it was a special election in August. It's such dirty tricks. So anyway, I'd become a leader. Mainly, most of my followers and supporters were actually Democrats, of course, because it's Shaker Heights. But they're still paying taxes and paying bills and have families, and they're concerned about waste. So that was what drove my campaign. And then the mayor, I was endorsed by the Cuyahoga County Republican Party, and then the mayor ran 2. Usually, if you have 3 openings, you'll get 3 candidates, because you have to get, it's at large, so you have to get 250 signatures across the whole city. So the mayor ran 2 people, funded them, so then you had 5 people running for 3, and so I couldn't make it as the one conservative. So I didn't get elected. But I was now involved with the Cuyahoga County Republicans, and I found out that fall that they don't have a candidate for Congress against Marcia Fudge. And I'm like, why not? The city needs, the cities need Republican solutions more than anybody. So you're just going to abandon and wipe out, write off the cities. I didn't like that. I said, I live in the city, or I live in this district, I'll run. So I did. I filed to run in the vacant race. I went to CPAC, and that's where I met Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul, the son of Ron Paul. And he has the Republican Liberty Caucus, and they endorsed me. And then, of course, I won the primary unopposed, but I was endorsed by the county and the state GOP. So and I wasn't just a name on the ballot. I actually promoted free market solutions to urban decay in the Cleveland and Akron areas. Was invited to a lot of places. I went almost everywhere I could. I'm still working 2 jobs, and I have 3 kids.
Wow.
And a working wife, so it was hard, but I felt like it was important. I debated the Congresswoman, the Democrat Marcia Fudge, the incumbent at the Plain Dealer editorial board, and they didn't videotape that, interestingly enough, and I found out why, because she broke out in a sweat on her forehead because she's never been challenged. And we were running circles around her. I was.
Yeah.
But it was 3 against 1. We all found out that we're all from Shaker Heights. The two editorial board review people, and then Marcia Fudge and me. We're all from Shaker Heights. And then after the tape recorder went on, it was 3 against 1. Anyway, so then Marcia Fudge announced she's not going to debate me at the City Club. She speaks at the City Club all the time. Is anyone familiar with the City Club in Cleveland? Right. And so they said, well, Mark, if she drops out, you get the whole hour free yourself. So I was like, great, what a great opportunity. So I spoke for a half hour, and then I had a half-hour question and answer, and that is also audio, not video. But I do believe all these files are still available. I should probably download them and save them. And I knew that I wasn't going to win, but I wanted to lay the groundwork for future challengers so that we don't have vacant seats. So it was a volunteer work. So anyway, 2015, I found the Republican Liberty Caucus of Ohio. I helped found it. So there's the founding board group there, and that was the first convention that they had in Medina. And sitting next to me is my lawyer and fellow congressional candidate, Matt Lynch, who challenged Dave Joyce then in 2014 as well as 2016, but did not win. But he could have won. He actually had a serious campaign, but we were both candidates in that primary. So unfortunately, by then, I had separated from my wife, who's a Democrat, and I moved to Geauga County. I then endorsed Beverly Goldstein, Republican, for Congress in Ohio 11. So then I was going to, Rand Paul was actually running for president, and I was following him, I was going to support him. Then Rand Paul dropped out, and this moment happened. I don't know if you remember, if anybody saw this, when Donald Trump scolded Jeb Bush for the Iraq War, for his brother's, the Iraq War was a mistake. And that just blew my mind because he did it in a way that Rand Paul wouldn't have said it. They were a little bit more gentlemanly-like, but Donald Trump was in his face, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, finally, after 15 years, somebody's going to say, hey, we shouldn't be doing all these wars, these endless wars. So I was like, boom, I am a MAGA guy, full throttle, and I was promoting Trump anywhere I can. I was going to rallies and volunteered at the convention. And unfortunately, I think I may have gotten fired because of that, because I lost my job. My wife finalized the divorce. I lost my house. And I'm like, is this what it means to be canceled? I don't know. I think so. Pretty much lost everything. So anyway, it didn't disturb my spirits because that was the night. This photo was taken by Plain Dealer, or Cleveland.com. The Cuyahoga County Republicans watch party. And that was the moment when Trump won Ohio.
Yes.
Because when Trump won Ohio, he was going to win the election back then in 2016. So that was just triumphant. It was totally triumphant. And I think it was Northeast Ohio then that won Ohio. The activities of everybody up here in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. So this was great, and I felt like maybe the conservative grassroots was becoming mainstream. That was very important to me because it wasn't going to be about the old country club Republicans who just kind of take care of themselves. This was going to be about the people, we the people, everybody, not just Republicans. So I had no job, right? So I had to start a whole new career. And I'd always been an outdoorsman and a scout leader, and so I became a surveyor in 2018, and was able to buy my own house in 2019. So this was, you know, one of the few times that I've ever experienced general prosperity, really. Just being a working man. It was in the 1990s when I was able to start my family, and that was an extended period. And then it was Trump's first term, like 2 or 3 years, where I was able to like totally restart my life. It wasn't easy, it was hard work, but I was able to do it. I was able to actually keep up with inflation. Bought my own house. So that was good. Then of course, I look very stern in this picture because we all know what happened in 2020, right? I call it the COVID insurrection. Some people don't agree with me. I think the whole thing was to steal an election.
Yep.
And I was censored on free speech. I was basically knocked off of Facebook and kind of stayed away from it at that point. But now I'm working overtime throughout the state. I'm working in, I worked in 21 different counties in basically East Ohio, from like Lake Erie to the Ohio River to like Newark County, just east there of Columbus. So I'm working, I'm living in hotels, and I'm very concerned about my children and what they're gonna be forced to do. They were out of school for a while. Then my son went back because it was Catholic school, one of the only schools that were in, but they're all masked and they're sitting inside boxes, and I was just really frightened by that. And I got to the point where they said, if you keep harassing the principal and the teachers, we're gonna kick your kid out of the school. And I just said, just don't jab him, you know? And I had to fight with his mother as well about that. There's people who are quickly brainwashed because she's a good mother and she should have known better. But it's just the propaganda got to her. So anyway, everybody's safe except for my daughter. She volunteered to get jabbed because she was going to university, Johns Hopkins University, which is the medical belly of the beast, right? But anyway, she seems healthy. She never got sick or anything. But then as this Biden regime goes on and the inflation, I could see what was going on with the invasion of migrants and the invasion of illegals. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. COVID was how they stole 2020 and changed all the election laws and printed all the ballots. Now they're going to have illegals, give them all social security numbers and have them vote. And I'm like, this has to stop. And but I'm working overtime. And so anyway, I quit that job and I got a job closer to home. I want to be there for what's going to happen and maybe try to stop it. And that's when I did actually file to run against Dave Joyce in late 2023, in December. And because I said, you're going to be off this winter, I'm going to have 3 months off. Primaries in March, that's perfect enough time. But then they said, Mark, I got to call you back, and then so I withdrew. And if anyone signed my petition, thank you. This time or that time, I really appreciate that. So here it is, 2025. I'm injured on the job. Workers' compensation denied my claim, so I just quit. I quit in July after recovering from surgery, and then announced my campaign for Ohio 14. And now I'm semi-retired and I have the time to do it. So I worked in media, so I did this video. Has anybody seen my video on the beach? I'm going to play it for you now, because it really is very symbolic of what I think we're going through in this district and also in the country. And I put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's, I'll go over it, because I fire off I call them my rhetorical cannonballs of truth and reason, which is like my platform. So let me play that for you now, and let me know what you think, and then we'll go to the second half of my presentation. Sir, no sound?
Want to use the little speaker there and all that, is that muted?
Yeah, that's on. Huh. Because it sounds great. It's the 1812 overture.
That's unmuted there, but it's not.
Okay. Yeah, it's unmuted here. But it's showing when I put the sound on, it says.
Try to
volume,
try start your Bluetooth maybe the Bluetooth.
Oh.
could have something.
Turn off the Bluetooth, right?
Turn it off and then turn it back on.
Right, I think
I got an app just like that and I have that problem.
Okay.
I don't know why.
And then maybe the Bluetooth is on here too.
Yeah, on the Apple.
Sorry about that.
Let's see, how's 1812 over yeah.
All right, let's see.
There's something.
Across Lake Erie is Canada.
Huh? It's on your phone.
Go stand up there by the microphone.
14th congressional district.
Play it.
Play the mic.
Just play the video.
Okay.
This day, when the American Navy defeated and captured the British fleet in the Battle of Lake Erie. Nearby town of Perry, Ohio, is named
You can hear it, right?
No, put it by the microphone.
Perry, who led the American sailors to victory. Their courage and sacrifice can inspire us
Oh,
today.
sick one.
The feds in Washington, D.C. tax and control nearly everything we do. And American families, like mine, can barely get by. This is Commodore Perry's battle with the USS Willoughby. After being outflanked and taking 80% casualties, Perry did not give up the ship. Flag by road, heavy fire to the undamaged USS Niagara and its firing engines inspired by this flag. And against the wind, I declare my candidacy for Congress in the Republican primary. Join me now as I set sail on a grassroots course to break through the establishment line and fire raging cannonballs of truth and reason to the left and to the right. I'm a Republican Marxist, and in the Battle of Lake Erie, for America First leadership in Congress. I approve of these orders. Hard to start with. Drop the sails. Double broadsides. For individual life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. Fire!
Sound lovely. Thanks. Thank you. So,
I can't shut it off.
it's really great when you have bass because those cannonballs really hit you in the gut. They're all over the place. So, and that's why I use that as a metaphor for my platform. Because, you know, there's the pillars of, everybody familiar with like the pillars of MAGA, the 5 pillars of MAGA? They are, they're very similar to these, basically the planks. So Donald Trump talked about this, America first, right? Secure borders, no more endless wars, real jobs, not globalization, and free speech. So my platform is similar, and I wanted to really give it punch, and we'll have to figure it. But you can go and watch it and get the headphones and get the full effect. But it's very symbolic because the establishment versus the grassroots is, we all know the money's in the establishment. They kind of keep the grassroots out. And so it is going to be a battle. And this is like, if you're familiar with the Battle of Lake Erie, Commodore Perry his flagship was completely pummeled into a wreck. And he could have just he got on the rowboat, went to the other ship that hadn't been damaged. He could have just taken off and retreated. But he didn't. He took that ship that hadn't been damaged, and they all sailed in and then crossed the British line. It's called crossing the T, which is a very rare and very strategic move in naval battle. And he was able to fire double broadsides and basically capture the British fleet. And I don't know if that's ever happened too much in all of history, that you captured a British fleet. So anyway, it's very important that you don't want to give up, and this is why this flag, it's kind of like Don't Tread on Me. It's kind of like the Don't Tread on Me flag, but of the War of 1812, and that was a very important war because the British also invaded. They burned our capital. We almost lost our country in that battle, in that war. So I ran out of slides, but let me get my notes. I was going to be on the 20th, I think Thursday, and Brian said, "Oh, I need you to move it up to Monday," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I can do it." But I didn't. I didn't finish the slides. So I'm going to definitely finish this presentation because I'll be doing this throughout the 6 counties, and also I'll have it online when it's finished. But so I want to go through my cannonballs. So limited government is cannonball 1 that you saw, and I don't think people don't really understand what limited government is. We've kind of been living in this massive government for so long, and at least my whole life. And with the reason why it's grown, and Ron Paul talked about this, is the concept of prior restraint, that the idea that a bureaucracy has the power to basically prevent you from doing anything until you get permission. In other words, it's prior restraint. They're holding you back. You can't produce anything until you get permission. You consult the bureaucracy, go through the red tape, and the cost of compliance is just strangling our whole economy. I was watching Tom Z this weekend, and he read an article that the cost of new housing is literally almost a quarter of the cost of new housing is compliance with laws, regulations. Some of them are local, probably most of them. But still, where's the great cities being built today and the great wonders of the world? They're not being built in the United States. They're being built in Asia. They're being built in Dubai and all these other cities that the government isn't holding people back. And so prior restraint is, if you look at every agency and every department in the federal government, they're all controlling. If the government doesn't own the business, they control the business. And this is basically the Soviet Union. I mean, that's what we've become. That's why we're so sluggish and we don't have rapid growth. And so, for example, say every 4 years you'll get a Republican presidential debate, and they'll go off on a list. Hey, one of the questions would be, what would be your departments you would get rid of? And that's like a running joke. Every 4 years, they'll say the same level of departments. Yeah, we want to get rid of Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, Department of Energy. And you hear this over and over again, and nothing happens. But finally, I think President Trump got rid of the Department of Education. I don't know. Also, Housing and Urban Development, which my former opponent, Marcia Fudge, heads. I think that's being dismantled. But really, we need a wholesale dismantling of these federal bureaucracies, because we still have the state federal bureaucracy, and the localities and the counties, and things like NOACA. So it's not like it's not going to be unregulated, but at least we have more, it's a little bit more local. But say, so what if they got rid of transportation? Like, why is the government running airports?
Right.
You know, look at airports. I don't even want to fly anymore. It's just an awful experience. It's just awful. They cram me in these, you know, I'm not a big guy and I can't even fit in these seats anymore. And trying to go through the demeaning, you know, you're considered to be a terrorist and, you know, I have no record. Why am I being searched every time? And it's just not run well. Same with interstates, same with roads. Why is it that, you know, what's the top speed on your car? Mine says 120 miles an hour, and I have a Hummer. It's like, where can you ever drive that fast, and where can you ever drive that fast safely? I mean, I understand when the interstates were built in the 1950s and 1970s, that, you know, those were the top speeds, but this is the 21st century. Why can't we drive 100 miles an hour? Why can't we drive 150 miles an hour safely? The government isn't going to build roads like that. They're just trying to maintain what was built, you know, in the 1950s. So private sector could build it, and they would charge a toll, and that's how you develop innovation. That's how the country was built. The country was built by the private sector. Railroads, canals, bridges, because they made money. They could make money. So I used to live in New York City, believe it or not, and people think that the New York City subway is pretty amazing, actually. Like, I didn't need a car. You could go down there and zip up and down underground, and they carved it out of granite, solid granite, and it was built by the private sector. And it wasn't until the 1940s. 1940s is when most of the railroads went out of business because people were driving. And but then in most cities, the cities then took them over and made them public, and the taxpayer subsidizes the trains. And you know, that poor woman was stabbed to death on a train. I don't feel safe riding in trains. I don't think anybody would. You don't know what's going on. But the private sector can do everything that the government kind of has seized. And they say it's a monopoly, it's a natural monopoly. No, it isn't. I've worked on pipelines. I've located pipelines on the side of the roads. Have you ever seen people walking on the side of the road in safety yellow and they're going like this? That's what I did. And I could literally, I knew where there would be two competing gas companies buried on the side of the road. I'm like, that's not a monopoly. Anybody can put a pipeline here. As long as you're not on top of it, you can put another one. There's plenty of room. The road right-of-ways are a gold mine for burying utility lines. There's so much room for them to do it. And they keep it, it's safe, it's out of the way of the wind, and there's no utility poles that get hit. And there's just not any innovation. Like, if this was in place when our country was formed, we would not have a country. It never would have been built. So we have to free this up. The prior restraint in having the bureaucracy is kind of what's choking us. And it's the concept of living in government that just doesn't exist. That's what I would push. And just, even though I'm just one vote, I would introduce bills and promote bills that could do that. It's a revolutionary change, but we have to start somewhere. Taxes, somebody once said at a meeting recently that I've been to, because I've been to like 5 counties, they said taxes are the cost of civilization. Has anybody, you ever heard that phrase? Or the taxes are the price of civilization. And I didn't interject because that wasn't my fundraiser, but I wanted to, because taxes are actually the destruction of civilization. They're seizing your property and seizing your money. They're committing crimes. They're stealing your money. So that breaks down civilization, because do you trust somebody who's stealing from you? Look what they do. Look how they spend it. I don't like how they spend it. So again, it breaks down civilization. It's very simple what the role of government should be. It's in the preamble, I believe, the Constitution. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and that should be measured objectively. Secure the blessings of liberty, which are abundance, human flourishing, baby boom. That's what they should be protecting. Instead, they're saying, oh no, don't have kids, you can't afford it, climate change is going to destroy the world. What I think the government should not do is try to deliver goods and services, and that's at every level. This is where we're running into. I see it at the local level, the national level. They can't deliver services. They can't respond to markets and budgets and customers. They have none. So Cannonball 2, sound money. This was made popular by Ron Paul. You ever say, oh, I remember back in the day when, a gallon of gasoline was 40 cents a gallon, or, a comic book was 10 cents. Yes, yes. And then we all sometimes we all share this, and it's a common thing. Inflation is not normal. Did you know that before the Federal Reserve Bank was started in 1913, the U.S. dollar actually gained value from 1776 to 1913. The U.S. dollar gained value. It only gained 8%, but it didn't lose value. I mean, think about how much just the dollar has lost just since like 2019. I mean, look at this. Look at the level of inflation. My experience since then is worse inflation than it was in the 1970s. And I don't think they. So there's another group, the Department of Commerce, and they put out inflation numbers and unemployment numbers. They're so off. They're so useless. And they cost money. They're not giving us accurate data. So I want also the concept of money. So people think, oh, time is money. I've heard that phrase. But actually it's the reverse. Money is time. Like, time is the precious resource. Everyone is limited by time on earth. So the money actually banks your time. So you trade your time to an employer, and you give your effort and your skills, and that time is lost. But what you got is you got money for that. So that, in a sense, then you can take that money, so when you're not working, and you can help your time that you're not working. So you're banking your time. And some people have said, actually politicians mainly say that, money is the root of all evil. Actually, no. The love of money is the root of all evil, right? But money itself is the root of all good, because it is your life. It's literally a slice of your life and a slice of your time that you can never recover. So money is very important, and if it's being devalued, that is a crime. And I think in some localities, at some point in the United States, counterfeiting was punishable by death. And that's exactly what the Federal Reserve is doing. So I don't trust, I think especially, so money has two functions. It's an exchange of value, but it's also a store of value. So we have this crypto, or we don't call it digital currencies, digital dollars. That really seems to be good use of exchange. Like, oh, I can use digitals and it's on my phone anyway. But then you didn't have to store your money in digital. You could store it in something else. You could store it in precious metals. You could store it in other currencies. You could store it in other cryptocurrencies. So I think we're in a position now where we could really replace all fiat currencies. And these they can't be inflated. They're automated to not inflate and lose value. Because then people would switch. You could switch to any one that you think is working for you. And so that's the concept of sound money. It would also save the dollar in a sense, because the dollar would have to become honest, or it would have to go away. Because I don't want to lose the dollar. I'm very tied to the dollar. I've used it my whole life. I don't want the dollar to be destroyed. And I don't think President Trump does either. So this kind of competition would make the dollar strong again, because the federal government, or actually it's the Congress is supposed to mint money, not the Federal Reserve. That's in the Constitution. They would keep it honest, and they would keep it from being devalued. So that's pillar number 2. Or I'm sorry, cannonball. Cannonball number 3, of course, is no foreign wars. I've grown up watching Vietnam War on TV, and I always used to ask Dad, this must be World War III, right? And he'd say, no, son, it's actually a conflict. And I was like, well, what's a conflict? Dad, they're killing each other. This is terrible. Look at all the blood, He's like, no, it's complicated, son. It's a conflict. And I go, well, are we winning? Because they're just a poor third world country. And he's like, no, we're not really winning. And I couldn't understand what was wrong. I said, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. These American soldiers have to go over there. Excuse me. And for any veterans here, thank you for your service. And this goes on, right? When I was growing up, unfortunately, or fortunately, there were no wars. By the time I was out of draft age is when they started in 1991 again with the Kuwait war in Kuwait. And then it just goes on after 9/11. It doesn't seem to stop. And now even President Trump seems to want to start wars. And so this is very, I know he's under a lot of pressure by people who make money, by war profiteers, but still, this is not good. And I hope that we have to keep him on course. We have to keep President Trump on course, and we need a leadership in Congress to keep the Congress in course. No foreign wars. Also, no foreign workers or no foreign students. We Americans, especially if they're subsidized, and I don't think universities and colleges should be paid for by the government. But those slots are for Americans, and every job is for an American. I started, like I said, I was doing detasseling field work. I felt like it was, this must have been what picking cotton was like, because I'm in the hot sun all day, working in the fields, pulling the tassels off the corn, and man, it was hot and humid in central Indiana, and this is pretty hard work. And then as a surveyor, I've worked in all weather, freezing cold, super hot, biting dogs. I actually went to the hospital from a dog bite. Almost bit me in the neck. And I put my arm out and he got me right here, so I got these big scars. But anyway, I can do pretty much any job. And I was never a soldier in the military, but I imagine it must be pretty hard. Construction work is pretty hard. I've done that. But every American should have a chance to get a job. I can't find one right now. I don't want to go back and get injured and do that kind of work again. I've been doing physical labor for 8 years. 62 years old. I kind of want to do maybe a desk job again. But what I did is now they're either outsourcing it to India or they shipped in Indians to do the work here. And so that's just my observation, but I don't think I can get work in that field anymore. And plus they can pay them a lot less. So this is just terrible. And it's nothing against foreigners. Hey, you can apply for immigration, right? We have legal immigration in America. Apply, and if you want to work here and you want to go to school here, you can do it. It's not like we keep people out. So that's another cannonball. Another thing is no loose criminals. This idea of no bail and early release of violent people, we've seen the results of that. It's just terrible. And that's one of the basic jobs of government is to protect you, provide security. And they can't even do that. Of course, we know what's going on. These are socialist and Marxist activists who have infiltrated into the government, who are doing this on purpose to cause chaos, to demoralize the population, to scare them. So this is evil. And so I would say the people that did that, the judges, the bureaucrats who let them go, they're criminals too. And we also need to arrest, these are domestic and foreign enemies of the Constitution, right? If they want to overthrow the government, they're an enemy. They have no rights. They need to be arrested and interrogated. We need to know who's funding them, who's involved. That would mean Antifa, Islamists, people who, the Intifada, or they want to take over the world. They want to put Sharia law. They want to take over Western lands, Christian lands. This is serious. And so they're considered to be enemies and criminals as well. So they have to be arrested and interrogated and deported, I would say. Why would we even keep them in a jail? Just get them out. Another is probably more mundane, and it was simply related to my opponent, as I'll talk about him in a minute. Dave Joyce, he's been accused of insider trading. Same with many people in Congress. I don't know, he hasn't been arrested, so I don't know what that means, but there is an act called the Stock Act that you're not supposed to trade in stocks when you're in Congress with certain stocks. Now I should say just don't trade in stocks at all, because you can't get away from it. It's a very bad look. So there's insider trading, tax evasion and mortgage fraud. You see these politicians, and they're all getting away with stuff. Maybe not so much anymore. The Epstein files, prostitution, gambling. How is it that they engage in all these crimes that if you and I did anything, like our lives would be ruined. Our reputation would be ruined. We'd lose our jobs. Graft and bribery. Seems to be widespread. Again, they talk about it. It's reported. Nothing happens. Nobody's getting arrested. Nobody's getting kicked out. So that's another issue about no loose criminals. We have to have law and order, and we have to have equal protection under the law. That's very serious.
5 more minutes, Mark. Then
Oh,
we'll start,
shoot.
then we'll start your question.
I should have timed it.
Yeah, then your question and answers.
Yeah, okay. The other one was no public debt. That's an easy one. Debt is crowding out investment. And of course, we're at 38 trillion, going on 39 trillion. That's that. So I'll take your questions there. I apologize. I didn't finish this and I didn't time it. So yeah, let me, if anybody has any questions, I'll take them. Yes.
You talked about bringing the dollar back because competing against digital currency. Okay. Can you comment about digital currency and the lack of privacy that could bring for us too?
So yeah, digital currency, you can encrypt it and you can make it private and safe. That's not, I don't think when the government talks about a digital dollar or digital currency, that's not what they want to do. They want to get into your data, they want to totally control you, they want to tie it to all your social media and everything else. That's not what I'm talking about.
That's different.
I'm talking about a totally private and secure digital currency that you choose and you can change all the time, and it's not biometric because you can't change your biometrics. It's password driven, and it's a very long password, and these are all blockchain, and it's very secure. But that's not what most governments are trying to push.
That's what President Trump is for?
He seems to be for it. No, he seems to be for this, what is it called, stable dollar or stable coin? I don't trust it. I don't think that's what I'm talking about. Right, I'm certainly not going to get stable coin, and I'm very suspicious of it.
Yeah.
So look up a secure encrypted blockchain currency. I think that's what we're talking about. That's something that we can trust, and we control it ourselves. And also, something that's based, you could also have old-fashioned currencies based on precious metals, gold and silver. I think there would be also a market for that as well.
A number of us have the gold backs. That's another alternative. Did you ever see the gold backs?
No.
Yeah.
It's people have some here, but it's actually gold.
Right here.
So it's like a note.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's physical. Is it gold threads?
Gold.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
There were ones, fives.
So it's made into a foil.
Yes.
Wow,
It's
I've
not
never seen that.
destructible.
Spendable.
That is awesome.
Who takes them?
Right, because
It's
Nobody
legal
in
tender
Ohio-
right
there are a
now. It's
couple
legal
in
tender in Utah.
Utah.
It should be legal
Nevada,
tender everywhere.
Wisconsin, South Dakota, New Hampshire.
because they didn't have that technology
No.
back then.
Since 2011.
And that's where the silver notes started, because people didn't want to carry around heavy coins.
Right.
So they had the note. Okay, we'll keep the heavy coins in the bank, and here is a note, a promissory note, that if you turn that in, you can get that silver from the bank. But now we can create foil. We can create foil.
That's bullion, that's that paper money. But this is actually, you're carrying gold.
It's self-gold.
This is gold.
That is great.
Are
I've
you
never seen
saying
that.
different denominations or different
Different,
thicknesses?
yes, this is the one, this is based on the spot price of gold, which let's say it's $4, this would be $4. This would be 5 times 4, this would be $20 worth.
Is it heavier? Is it physically heavier than that one?
That's what I'm asking.
No.
You shouldn't.
Then, it's still like a
So it's still
regular paper dollar.
a note. It's still a note representing, even though this
can
is
melt it
actual
down.
gold.
Okay, but then there are different thicknesses for different values, yes or no?
Yeah.
The amount
Okay.
of gold in it is down here, like
Okay.
1,000th of an
Okay.
ounce.
Okay.
And that's
Right.
the one.
I think the concept of sound money means that you have choices.
Yes.
You don't have, a fiat means it's one currency. Legal tender means you can only use the US dollar in this country. And that is tyranny,
Yes.
because then they can take that currency and destroy it, and everybody's losing the value of that money. So there's so many opportunities for different types of money, physical, digital, whatever you're comfortable with. And that's what we need, and that'll make our economy thrive.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Molly?
Have you spoken to Dave Joyce?
I said hi to him when he voted. I was working the polls at his precinct. I don't know if somebody set that up on purpose, because I thought that was ironic. And I'm at the front as he's walking in, and I'm thinking to myself, is he going to vote? Because they're off, they're shut down, right? And I'm thinking, oh, he wouldn't vote in person. He probably voted absentee. And then in walks Dave Joyce, and I was like, hello there. And he kind of chuckled at me, and then as he was walking out, what?
He knows who you are.
Oh yeah. But everybody, I say hi to everybody who walks in, and they're all like, hello, how are you? It's a beautiful day, and people are pleasant. But Dave Joyce was kind of like,
Can you like compare and contrast like your differences of opinion and
Right,
differences
so-
between you and Dave Joyce?
Yeah, the best thing was it's called Ohio Rhino Hunter, or I forget what it was. It's on X. Anyway, he put up this comparison chart. He did an average of 8 conservative scorecards, congressional scorecards. So there's all different scores, and he averaged every one. And Dave Joyce is absolutely one of the lowest. He's like at 50% out of 100. And the average Republican in Congress is about 75%. But then like Senator Bernard Marino, he's like 95%, but he's only been there a year. But I'm thinking my score would be at least average, maybe even higher. But what's more relevant is Dave Joyce actually voted against the repeal of Obamacare. He was one of the only Republicans to do that, and that was in 2017, and that's a huge vote. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have, no, definitely get rid of Obamacare. And all the other regulations of the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
There was some that were even there before that led up to being unaffordable in 2009. Now it's even more unaffordable.
Yeah.
Also, Dave Joyce voted to give amnesty to illegal aliens at least twice. Now, he's been in office now for, this is his 7th term. So he's got a long record.
Whatever happened to term limits? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, it's me.
Yeah.
It's the founders in their wisdom said that the House of Representatives was going to have to face the music, was going to have to go to face being reelected or voted out every 2 years. So a congressman is really, or a congresswoman is almost on constant reelection mode, which is good. They should be. But I think over the years, Dave Joyce has gotten pretty comfortable, and he's not so worried too
I've
much.
been told he'd be elected.
I haven't seen him very much at all. I've been out to 5 counties now since April. I've seen him twice, and he wouldn't talk to me either. So he's not, I don't think he's too worried about it. I don't think some people say he's not going to run again, that if he wins the primary, he's going to pass it on to somebody else. That's how he got in. Does anybody realize that? Dave Joyce was actually appointed by Steve LaTourette. After Steve LaTourette won the primary in spring in 2012, then he said, oh, I'm retiring in the summer, he said that. And then I think it was either the Ohio Republican Party or maybe it was I don't know who, but they appointed Dave Joyce because he was prosecutor, Geauga County prosecutor. So he never even had to run as a challenger. So I think he's going to do that again. Some people have told me that, and that the current Geauga County prosecutor, Jim Flays, would be the one he would anoint.
Yeah.
But who knows? There's just rumors. So that's why I got in early this time, and I'm gonna make a go of it.
Win the primary.
Yes, I can win, but I need to raise some money. So Mark Zetzer for Congress.com.
Back to your first cannonball, limited government. Are you familiar with ISO 9000?
Is that a bill?
It's a regulation that businesses have to conform to. It came from Europe. I work for a large computer
Or
company,
like the protocols, like
and
the
they
standard
brought in
operating
ISO 9000 and nearly destroyed.
It's a scientific
our company.
standard for businesses, machine manufacturers normally, for a higher grade rating. But that's all I know about it basically.
And if you're an international competitor, you have to conform with that.
Most big
so it's like
companies will not.
Europe was putting an anchor around our neck to, when you talk about red tape and so forth. It was a huge anchor just dragging us down so the Europeans can compete against us. Because we're outperforming, you know.
Is it a government regulation?
They're into your accounting, they're into every part of your business.
It comes from Europe?
Is it a government
It
agency?
came from Ireland.
Is it like United Nations or?
I think it's like what they had ISO, when we were working at a company that was ISO 2000 or some kind of crazy names where you had to have, what you did is you had all your departments and everything had all their policies and procedures laid out, and you had to follow them.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that the government had to do with, but they kind of, you set up your own, and they would come in and they would rate you if you were following your own policies. Which is
It's
the
a
dumbest
huge
thing I've ever seen.
Anchor around your neck, and I don't know, just beware of it.
Because what I would favor is all these regulations could really be run in the private sector through industry associations. And they're voluntary, it doesn't cost taxpayers anything to administer, and the industries and the economy, they set their own standards, and you can obviously meet and decide on your own whether or not you want to follow it or not. There's no governing body other than their own association.
The ISO 2000 affected the companies that you could do business for. I worked at a collection agency, and if we wanted to be able to collect from banks, we had to be ISO 2000 compliant. And there's all kinds of regulations.
Well, banks are very heavily regulated, and that goes back to sound money. We really need to bust up the banks, because if they can enforce that, they can enforce a lot of things. And then also the concept of being debanked, politically debanked. And that's because the banking system is heavily controlled and not really free market. There used to be, remember the Swiss banks? Remember the concept of the Swiss banks where supposedly they were independent? I don't know if they are anymore. But that was a value, and Switzerland got wealthy having the Swiss banks. You know, it was secure and private. Imagine, we could all have secure and private banking and secure and private money, now in our phones or anywhere. But we're not allowed. So sound money is so important to reviving our economy.
Yes.
Anyone else? Yes.
The problem with no foreign workers, I mean, if they're proper, they should be, because we don't have enough American workers at all.
Well, I think
I've been in employment.
I agree.
25 years.
Except that there's also a lot of Americans who are paid not to work. They're able-bodied, they're on welfare.
That's the problem.
So that would obviously be part of it. No able-bodied person should be on welfare. And to be honest, anybody who needs help can get private charities. We don't need the government. The government is not doing it cost-effectively.
Amen. Should be from the church.
Thank you for having me tonight. And
But you'll be around for questions, right?
yes, exactly.
Thank you very much. Do you have a schedule where else for speaking?
Not yet. I don't have any.